You know, one time there was a bakery in there too.
That was Brad Hosier's bakery. He was from Millerton.
Millerton, right.
Sorry, I've only been here 40 some years, so I really don't remember these things.
That's all right. Judy and I have you covered.
I know, I was glad to see you there.
We try our best.
Everything I have is all urban legends.
Hi there.
How we doing, Dara?
We're good. Doing well. We're doing well. Uh-oh. Oh, that's right. Rory has two things that he does.
Nope. Rory, you're sideways.
Dear.
There you are.
Okay, so we have Rory, Matt, Sarah, Dawn, Dara, and our three guests. I think we are ready to go. We'll wait 2 more minutes just in case people are signing on to YouTube to watch. And I just started the recording.
Hi, everybody. Got my unmute
Hi,
on.
Rory.
Hey, Rory.
Hi, Rory.
How's everybody doing today?
Oh, great, Matt. Thank you.
So my iPad is a little not charged and I can't get a hold of my wife to find out where. I can't find my computer anywhere, just to let you know. So if you guys see me go out, it's because A, I died, or B, I'm
Don't
gonna
die, Matt.
yeah,
Don't die.
I'm waiting to find the computer. So
No
sorry.
dying allowed.
Yeah.
All right, it is 7 p.m. So I'd like to call this town board workshop meeting to order. It's the 12th of April, 2021. And this workshop is devoted to the new town park and the beautification committee that's putting it together. And the second part of the agenda is just a brief discussion on the town hall roof. So I just thought I would start with a little bit of history as to the town park, because I think a lot of people might not know that. And something that I picked up from listening to NPR Sunday morning, I found I was washing dishes and heard this fantastic program about public spaces, in particular town squares. And basically what they were telling us was that in lots of places, especially in Italy, there are town squares. And in small towns, they serve as a resting place, a gathering place, a place for memorials and observances and conversations. A real public space has value and holds history. To create one is extremely difficult for a local government to do. But when the Peister Hotel burnt down at the corner of 199 and 82, the town of Pine Plains buried its remains and created a public space to replace it. Cut to 2019. A man named Edward Kinzer passed away in Florida, and in his will, he left the town over $25,000. We've tried to find a record of Edward's time here, but to no avail. So if anybody out there knows who he is, who he was, we would love to know. There's sometimes I think he might have gone to camp here, but he passed away in Florida. And to honor his legacy, we decided to use this money to renovate our public space. And to do this, first, we had to take down a pine tree that had been planted in honor of Marion Dodge and which had overgrown the space. We did that using some young local people, TLC Tree Service, and they did that a year ago. Then we convened a fantastic committee and the pandemic hit. That brings us to now. We first of all need to thank our committee for their perseverance in both handling all the bureaucratic necessities of a project like this and for coming up with a beautiful design. Suzanne Willett, Thayer Durrell, Vicky Sirocco, Jane Kelly, and Carl Baden. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wanted to start with that piece of history and just because a lot of people don't know where all this is coming from. And basically, I would love to turn this meeting over to the committee to just describe where you are and what we need to do for you at this point.
First of all, I'd just like to ask the committee, did everyone get the packet that Suzanne had sent along? Alice said she was going to send it out to everyone with our outline and our
Yes, I
proposals.
did.
Okay, thank you. So I am going to turn this over to Suzanne, who has done all the writing on this for us, and we'd like to go over the different parts. We'd like to have a few things cleared up for us.
Mhm.
And I think it would be easier if Suzanne went along with her plan. So,
Oh.
Suzanne,
Okay.
up to you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks,
And
Vicky.
Claire.
Okay. Okay, I'll just start with the document that you received. That's kind of the overview document, and it begins with 3 issues that were left unresolved or unclear after the last October meeting when we presented. There are 3 issues there. The first had to do with the sidewalks and the question of who controlled the sidewalks. Soon after the October meeting, Thayer and Vicky met with Ray, the engineer, in the park. And he said that we were kind of good to go, that the DOT would have concerns about pieces of sidewalk at 2 of the entrances into the park, but the rest we could consider kind of ours to work with. And the plan that we developed involves having rebar cut, and Mike George is going to help us with that. And then Art Jones and George Lefchek are going to come and lift up the sidewalks and take them away. Now, Dara, I know you've had a conversation with Ray recently.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
waiting for the DOT guy to write him back his response in an email, and detailed the fact that the first time that Ray asked, the man didn't see any problem with it and wanted just to look it over one more time and give a
Okay.
definitive answer.
Okay.
So we're just
All right.
awaiting word on that.
Okay. Because that really that's the first step.
Yeah.
In the work for that to come out. So, okay, hopefully the
Any
email will
day,
come.
yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
Can I just add, that was just to see if DOT required us to have a permit. He also told Ray he didn't think it probably was going to need a permit,
Right.
but he just needed the plan just to make sure. So Ray's talked to him several times for us, so I think it's a pretty good thing.
Okay, so the second issue has to do with the gazebo. And that is the one thing that was voted on formally at the October meeting. And it was decided that if the thing could not kind of stand, it would be removed, destroyed and removed. Carl Baden is willing to do the work of taking it away, but he would like some statement from the town board that says he's been asked to do that. And he would also like some direction on where to put the debris once the thing is down. So I guess that's our request would be for some statement to Carl, and we're assuming that, we're saying goodbye to the gazebo. Okay.
Well, Vicky, were you ever able to talk to Mike Cooper about bringing it down? I know that there was talk about bringing it down and using it at the beach. I know me and Mike maybe forgot, like we talked about it at one point, but I don't know. I know me and Vicky talked about it, and I wasn't sure if she followed up with him or not.
Actually, my last conversation with you was that it was going to be taken down. We had left it standing last fall that you and Mike were going to pick a
Okay.
spot. And it never seemed to happen. So we just decided to take it down. We don't have the whereabouts. I mean, I had tried to get some stone for it, and I had talked to Bayhorse, and they would have moved it for a fee of $600 plus the stone. And I just kind of said, I kind of thought if you guys wanted it, you know, maybe the town would come up with the money for that to move it. But it just,
What is the condition of it? Is it viable or is it not viable?
it is and it isn't. The bottom of it is all rotted, which means that they have to, to move it, they have to put lumber underneath it. I'm not exactly sure. Bayhorse told me they would have to come in with like 14-foot planks or whatever, and get underneath it. And he said, with looking at pictures of it, he thought it might be possible. So I don't know, who wants to, I don't know if we want to take that chance at this point. We kind of said if it wasn't movable or if nobody really
Right.
stepped up and wanted it, the board had agreed that we could have it taken down and
Let it go.
Thank you, Rory. Yeah, and
Thank you.
Carl Baden, certainly from the beginning, was not very optimistic about that thing
right.
staying in one piece. So,
All right, well, I would suggest that we give Carl authorization to take it down and get it disposed of.
I'd second that motion. That's a motion.
I'll make it.
Can I just ask where we can get it disposed of?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any ideas?
Can we bring it to the highway department in anticipation of our dumpster bonanza at some point? Could we move it to the site of North Main Street in the back there temporarily to be collected with the dumpster?
That seems to be the ideal location, the North Main Street one. It's the closest to where it's located now, and Carl kind of felt that that would be easily accessible for him.
Well, that makes sense since we're going to bring in dumpsters to get rid of all that stuff anyway.
Exactly.
And that'll be gone in a month. So,
That sounds great.
yeah.
That's a great idea.
All right.
Be careful of a change order, though.
Oh, right.
So,
What
We'll
do you
put it in the dumpster ourselves. We'll throw it in there. We could send the loader down or something to tip it into a dumpster maybe.
Yeah, it would pretend it's not there, then it'll be gone. All right.
All right, good, thank you.
good, thank you.
Do
And
we
the-
want to vote
yeah.
on that, or do we want to wait to vote on that till Thursday?
let's hear the rest of the proposal before we do anything.
Okay.
This was just the Carl giving him
I'm
permission.
concerned about Carl and Art working in there. I thought when we had originally talked, we were going to talk to Heather to find out if she, what their participation would be.
Heather had no problem taking the stones up. I had to, or the concrete slabs up. I had to find a place to dispose of them. They couldn't go down to the town, So I had to find someplace for them to go. And then she called me and said that she was unable to take them out of there because they, at that time, which was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, she didn't have a driver with a license that could pull the trailer
Trailer, yeah.
with the truck. So then I had to find somebody who would take them out of there. Not, it has not been an easy project to get this sidewalk out.
Well, now, are we talking about the sidewalk? We're still talking about the gazebo.
No,
No.
we're back to- we were talking about what the highway participation would be in any of it.
So
Well,
at the moment, there isn't really any participation. I mean, because she could take them up, but then what were we gonna, we had no place to put them. And no,
We could just get a dumpster and have it brought to the site as well to maybe take the sidewalk and the gazebo if we wanted to see them go
but
quickly.
don't dumpsters go by weight?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you know how much sidewalk is there?
That's true.
And
Well,
also,
you get X amount of weight with every dumpster, if you know what I mean. So like if it's just some of it, you can fall in that weight. I think it's up to 3 tons. With the garbage, with the dumpster.
So I guess my question would be, would the town pay for the dumpsters or would it have to come out of the $25,000 budget? Because if it
Well, I
does,
think it
I don't,
should come out of your budget for this.
right. But
Well-
also we can't forget though, that Heather is now saying she doesn't have the ability to take the stuff to this dump site because she doesn't have the right driver. And we do have 2 men who are interested in saving, reusing the parts of the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Who
it's
will
all gonna be
donate their time.
recycled, but it's not gonna cost us anything either. They're
Right.
willing to do this gratis.
Because they have a place to put them,
Yes, yes,
and they wouldn't like the assistance of us loading them into a dump truck and taking them. The gazebo is what she was going to use the trailer for.
no,
No,
no, the sidewalk.
sidewalks,
Well, if we have someone who wants to take them, why aren't we doing that?
I think we should.
I have no problem with
And the
that.
reason, Don, they want to take them out themselves because they don't want them all broken up. If she takes them out, they would probably be taken out with the loader. And I mean, they don't want them if they're all broken up. And so if they're gonna be, if the town does it and they're broken up, I'd like to know what it's gonna cost because our budget is,
Yeah.
that's our problem at the moment. And
Are you worried about giving away town property, Don?
No, I'm just thought it would be, much more. I'm concerned that they're going to come back and say, this is a much bigger project than they can handle. And I'm also concerned about somebody getting hurt and not having the proper coverage or liability or whatever.
We already checked into that, Don, because this came up earlier,
Mhm.
and they're covered as long as we give them permission.
Well, they can try.
well, does anybody have any idea what this dumpster is gonna cost us?
No, but I,
right,
No, that's not the question now, is it? The
yeah,
question is now is whether or not they're going to do it. And if
Mhm.
they do it, we don't need a dumpster.
right, exactly. And these 2 men have looked at the site and kind of see what the job is. So, I'm willing to trust their opinion that they can do it.
Opportunity to do it. If it doesn't work out, we'll have to do
Right.
something.
Yeah. Okay,
And they're also willing to move the park benches, which have to come out. And we are gonna store those on Thayer's piece of property. until we put them back in. Because they also are on cement slabs,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
they said that they would also move those for us.
Who are
So
they?
Carl's
or
gonna
Dick
remove the
can't know that?
gazebo, and Art Jones and George Leftwood are gonna remove the sidewalks.
Yes.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So can we move on to the fountain?
I
That
mean,
was-
Don, do you have any other question? I mean, anything else or?
No, I'm just trying to understand the town's role in this. But anyhow, let's go to the fountain. You can hear my next negative.
Well, the town's role is
No,
not,
at
the
the
town's
last,
role is not very helpful.
well, at the last meeting, the idea was we would move the gazebo. You know, anyhow, but
Okay.
obviously that's
Well,
not.
we would move it, but how much more can I do? I talked to Matt,
I know.
there
I
was
know.
a website
I think
found
we're good.
for it.
Let's
So-
move to the fountain. Okay, the fountain. Don, you were worried the last time that
I
people
don't-
might be. Yeah?
I'm against having a fountain there, period. I don't care if
Okay.
it has a grate on it. I'm thinking of it's a
Yeah.
further maintenance problem for our buildings and grounds people. I think it's going to be more of a problem than it's worth.
Okay. All
That's-
I
right.
agree with Don on that.
What's that?
I agree with Don on that.
Right. I would rather see just a simple concrete structure that, you know, a bench, a planter or something else, but not a
Mhm.
fountain.
Okay. And the worries are that,
I think it's just something that's not appropriate. I think it's something that's going to be a maintenance hassle in the future. You know, it's just another addition that's another maintenance responsibility for our buildings and grounds.
Are you thinking seasonal maintenance for like shutting it down in the winter?
I'm thinking of the constant cleaning, what have you, of the thing, the picking the trash out of it, the stuff like that.
And I mean, all those trees that are going to be in there, all those leaves and all those flower petals from the cherries, those are going to fall in there. That's going to clog up filters. We're going to have to clean that, and the winterizing, de-winterizing. Going to have to run a water pipe in there.
And power.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'd have to be powered.
That's going
We've
to
got
eat up a
lamp
lot of
right
that
close
budget.
by, but that's,
Well, the power, we've already discussed with, it can come off of the light poles. And water, which is not, Mr. Banning has said we can put in use the water from his
well,
building.
Yeah,
I'm not in favor of a fountain, period.
Okay. Let me just say a couple of things, and then you can tell me where we'll go from there. But in terms of the concern about debris, the grate that Tim Jones is proposing, will sit just a few inches below the very top of the what's called the box of the fountain. What you're looking at is a kind of bird's eye view of the fountain. The fountain is basically a corten steel box that'll measure something like 6 feet by 6 feet. And then in the center of that is a column. That's that inner square that you're looking at. And on that column, Tim is proposing mounting on each of the four sides, one of those dairy cow watering bowls that, the people used to use, I guess. I don't know if they still use them. The cows go and they hit the thing and the water comes, to kind of preserve the farm quality of the place. So it's got that kind of natural farm quality, but it's also rather modern given that it's a steel square structure. So on the top of it, a few inches below the top, Tim would put two grates, and the spacing in those grates would be large enough so that coins could go through. Tim has this idea that people will like to throw coins in fountains and will raise a little bit of money. The grates will protect anyone from going in and taking the coins before we do. And also the grate will capture the various leaves and other things that people might want to throw in there. So there will be a prevention of the accumulation of debris by virtue of the grates. Tim's proposal was that, those would be removed at the end of this season, that fountain would be drained. And that was pretty much it. I don't think he was anticipating any big maintenance kinds of issues with it. And it'd be a pump. It would be a kind of a self-enclosed system.
Yeah, but you would have to drain that pump every year, because if water stays in that pump and it freezes, then the pump breaks and the pump's underneath the column. How do you access the pipe? Or the pump?
I think I've been counting on Tim kind of knowing what he's doing around that. I mean, I wouldn't be responsible for it, but I trust Tim knows how to drain it. But I guess what do other folks think? I mean, I think Thayer, you want to say something about the aesthetic value of the fountain? I mean, I know part of the story was we thought the sound of the fountain as well as the look of the fountain would be important in the park. That the sound of water is just very relaxing and kind of draws people. So there, you want to add to that?
Trying to come up with was sort of a central fixture in the park. And Suzanne's right. It's so noisy every time you're in there in the middle of the day. And somehow the sound of the water sort of would help to mitigate a little bit of that traffic noise that we have going on all around there. The only time we're going to have to drain the fountain is once a year to winterize it. And I don't anticipate that that's going to be a major problem.
I rather love the idea of a fountain. I think it's really kind of zhuzhes the place up.
You started the whole meeting with parks in Italy and in Europe. And in almost all of those central squares, there's a fountain.
I think a fountain is a very nice idea.
I like the fountain as well. Is it jets of water or a cascading water effect?
The water's going to cascade out of the milk, the cow troughs. So
I love that idea. I think that's wonderfully fun.
Yeah.
And we have a very skilled craftsman to do it. So
Yeah.
I think we should try that.
And I'd like to add that Tim was excited when we talked to him about it, because I'm not sure if it's his, I might have this all wrong, but his grandfather and his uncle or uncles had something to do with the town clock, the building of the town clock.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah, they were Masons.
really wanted to add, to do this for the town park in connection, because his family had done the town clock.
Who
He
is
was-
Tim, please? Who is Tim?
Tim Jones.
Yeah.
Tim Jones is very much a local person. I think he's been here forever. He has a shop now on 199 right next to the storage center, Stissing Design.
He's a metal artist. He has
Yeah.
made amazing things. He's very, very talented.
Yeah.
So
They were
I'm
from Stanfordville.
it's
Yeah.
something to go to. Kids would love to go to the fountain. I think the funkiness of the cow water is delightful. I like the idea. And we have to teach people to be respectful of something that we have. People need to be respectful.
But it brings up a good point, Don, in that we might need a more advanced plan for maintenance of the park if it's going to have, these beautiful flower beds, perhaps, and the different trees and whatnot. It might take a little attention, I would think. Is this committee presuming that the town would take over some of those responsibilities once the park is up and running, I imagine, or?
I I think you can have a park committee, not
Yeah.
this necessarily this committee, but I think it's people might get very engaged in that and, to maintain the park and the flowers and whatnot.
Mhm.
Okay. How
Yeah.
about a garbage service inside the park or something like that? Will there be a waste bin in there, which is a useful thing inside of a park?
There
We
never
have no garbage cans in town, so
Yeah,
That's
just-
been an issue for a while. We've had that
Right.
discussion before.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And
Yeah, so it's not something we've taken up. I mean, I think there's also something to kind of seeing what happens in the park and how people use it. And, we won't know until there's something there for people to go to. I mean,
well,
certainly,
when the garbage cans were taken out, the gazebo becomes the garbage can.
Mm.
And really, I'm not sure there has been a wheelchair there since before Christmas behind the gazebo. I'm not sure whose job it is anyway. So maybe a committee has to be formed, or more of, the town beautification to do these things, to keep,
Mhm.
maybe put garbage cans out, but I guess then they'd have to be responsible for them getting picked up or whatever.
I personally think you have to have garbage,
Yeah.
place for garbage. I think it's required because otherwise it goes everywhere.
So that means that, so then you'll have to have a committee, and somebody on that committee is gonna have to go pick up the garbage.
Well, I remember Jane Kelly, who's a member of our committee, did say she'd pick up the garbage. So
Okay. All right, so we'll let the library worry about it.
Would like to be.
Well, it
Um,
might be a service that we could ask, both the Matt Brimer, Jane Kelly.
Yeah.
That
Right.
they could do it in conjunction with the Bannings. Maybe they would help and we could figure
Yeah.
something out. I know that,
I don't think that's fair to business people. I think
Well-
that's a town problem. It's a town problem, not
Yeah.
a business owner's
I
problem.
agree with you, Vicky. I definitely agree with you.
Okay. I know that Brian, when he was in office, looked into garbage cans for the town, because I have the specs
Mhm.
for
Mm.
garbage cans here. So I could find them again and we could look at whatever you guys actually, the previous board was looking at.
Mhm.
And I don't know why it got tabled, but,
Well, we got benches instead of garbage cans.
okay.
But the thing is part of the discussion is why we stopped having garbage cans in the park. Because it became such a hassle to get them picked up.
Yeah.
And they were just overflowing with whatever anybody could think to put in there.
Because we weren't paying for a service, Don, and we were relying on,
We tried to do it on our own, yeah.
yeah. But I think we could bite the bullet, right? I mean, I don't know. It seems like a worthy one to make sure the garbage gets picked up, whereas the committee could do other stuff.
Well,
with
The
garbage.
only person would go pick up garbage from containers like that, unless we put them out on the street, was Jimmy. And that's not gonna last forever.
Well,
So
maybe there's
we're,
a few hours a week for Vinny somewhere downtown if he could ever.
Well, that's what, one of my points was the idea that we're not looking at those kind of things. And, we're expanding our buildings and grounds well beyond its budget. Just with the highway garage was a new task that was added for our buildings and grounds. And now this is coming up and we want to pay for it, we can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we have somebody to collect it, where do we have to find a way of disposing of it? There's no town garbage pickup, so.
Well, they'd have to bring it out to town hall and use the dumpster out here. I mean, this dumpster doesn't get used hardly even half capacity. You know, throw the bags in the back of the pickup and bring them out.
So it might be the case that we do need more budget for buildings and grounds, but at a minimum, maybe planning for garbage pickup could be a modest part of whatever planning that is, rather than relying on the businesses or a committee person to do it.
Mhm.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it is a town park. Who picks up the garbage at the town beach? Okay, well, there.
A combination of
Obviously,
people.
there's a problem, so I don't think that, I mean, I think we should move on and work on that afterwards. Yeah. Who picks up the garbage now in the park? There, me, who's ever walking through, you know.
Yeah.
But I did refuse to pick up the wheelchair.
Wheelchair.
I just felt that was the town's problem, not mine.
I didn't even know it was there. Nobody reported it to me.
They'll take it out. They go freewheeling with that thing. It's like,
I'm sure they do.
That's God.
We can bring it to the highway closet. Okay, so
Okay, yeah. Okay, so those were the three sort of outstanding concerns from the last time. And then the next part of that document, overview document, just lists things that we would like, I guess, the town board to vote on. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen tonight or it goes to Thursday, but I thought it would be good to at least have a discussion of these various things. And maybe there's more information you want our committee to gather before Thursday, we'll do that. But I think it'd be good to just put these before people. The first one was the plan for sidewalk removal, and I think we've already dealt with that, right? Okay. The second is the landscaper bids. We put out an RFP that got publicly posted, and in response, we heard from two landscape companies. One is Susan Robertson's company, Down to Earth Landscaping, and the other is Go Green. And I think our committee was very impressed by both bids. In both cases, people came out, they looked at the park, they were excited about what we were doing, they had very good ideas. So we'd be happy with both companies, but we've chosen to recommend to the town board that we go with Susan Robertson. Her bid is lower, but I guess it's something like $3,000, and the money is very important. And we feel that although her proposal is not as fancy as the Go Green proposal, that she's proposing doing essentially the same work. And many of us have seen other projects that she's done, and they're good. She's got a good crew. So I guess we're asking of the town board for you to consider a recommendation of Susan Robertson, and we'd like to go ahead and hire her, because it's getting to be a point in the year where, you know, she's identified certain trees for us that would work. We have lots of concerns about getting the right holiday tree that's going to grow but not grow too fast. She's found one. Those would need to be purchased, and also we need to get on her schedule because the spring is here. So that's where we are now. I don't know if this needs to come up on Thursday or that's our story.
okay, and then what were the other points? Let's just go through all the points.
Okay. The other was the fountain design, which we've talked about already with the grate.
Okay.
And then the last point is the overall park design, which is that picture that you've put up, Dara.
Yep.
This is pretty much the picture that you saw the last time in October. It's changed really just slightly. The fountain is moved a little bit further west. And the big deal though is are the walkways. We've spent a lot of time on the walkways, considering various alternatives. When we last met in October, everyone was very excited about using recycled tires. But since that conversation, well, Thayer's been in touch with the company that does this work, that produces the material, would install the material, and their prices have shot up incredibly. Thayer, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the pricing?
Yeah. The original pricing that they had given us was $9 a square foot installed. And unfortunately, due to the freeze in Texas, it has affected the oil industry and the manufacture of polyurethane and other ingredients that are used for the binding for the recycled tires. So the price has jumped to $18 a square foot, which is going to make it completely out of our budget to do at this point. Now, there is a possibility it may drop back down again once things are resolved at a future date. I don't know that. She can't tell me whether or not that will happen. So we thought of another alternative in turning it into a completely green park and not put any particular walkways in there, but rather let the people explore the park by themselves and create their own pathways. If everything is perfectly leveled out, there shouldn't be any problem in terms of falling or tripping or that kind of thing.
So yeah, so what you now see on that little diagram are what get called in the landscape business desire paths. You know, these are the ways we assume people would want to walk while they're going through the park. They would make their way to the fountain. They would make their way to the pergola. They would make their way to the other end of the park and out. So it's, I think it's a nice idea. This is a very small space. And we had gotten to a point where the sidewalks were dominating. So I think, you know, now we're just regrouping and thinking about the park and how people might use it. And, you know, let that be the guide for how walkways would happen. Also, I think relevant to this is that we were talking about the old hotel before that's buried in there. It's down in there. And one would have to do some really serious excavating in order to create a truly level, stable space there. So, you know, you see what's happened to the current sidewalks. They look horrible. They're really buckled. And anything we'd put down there like that would buckle. So we don't want to go through the whole business of excavating the whole old hotel. So having this more natural approach, I think, to that surface may be a better way to go on all counts. And it's certainly economical.
I'm concerned that grass really doesn't hold up under foot traffic very well.
Right. Yeah, well, that's why they're called desire paths. And what we'll see are walkways. People will make them. It's not, you know, the grass will not hold up. We'll have grass, but then you'll see in the grass paths as people are making them.
And then when it rains, do you get mud?
We'd be putting sod down, so it's not going to be a question of mud.
Yeah.
Well, where there's walking, there won't be the sod though, per Sarah's and Suzanne's comments there. I would think you'd want something down, like stone dust at a minimum or something, even if it's not, you know, 5 or 6 feet wide, but some.
Yeah.
How do you control the snow then when it's stone dust? Are they going to have to shovel all of that to keep the pathways open?
That's a great question. I mean, and I hate that you would be thinking about changing the path because of how it's going to get shoveled in the winter, but you maybe
Have you looked at that honeycomb reinforcement that you put down and the grass grows through it?
That's more expensive than the recycled rubber.
One of my original comments when you first started talking to us, that's the shortcut. And that's going to be the path that's going to be cut.
Which one?
It's not going to be the people enjoying the park. It's going to be the people who are cutting.
That's the way it always is done.
I'm sorry?
That's the way it's always been, is people just cutting through there.
But they had a reinforced surface to walk on. Now just with a dirt path, it's not going to. I just feel uncomfortable about that.
I don't feel uncomfortable at all because I've been on so many college campuses where the kids, instead of going on the sidewalk, create a path to a building that becomes the real path. And it's just sort of what happens. And, sometimes in the winter, you go around, actually. I mean, is anybody going to really be sitting in the park in a snowstorm?
Yeah.
So,
If
I
we
don't
have mod, but those are two different issues. Is the reason you want no improved surface because you don't want to have to maintain it in the winter? Like somehow you wouldn't have to maintain it if it was just footpaths?
No,
Well,
No, they could still just go through with the what paths are there. It probably will almost be the same path that's there now in a broken sidewalk. If you go green, it's probably going to be the same one. And that will also, with people using it, will be packed down.
Mhm.
If it rains, they'll walk on another part, or I don't see where that's
The pathway might want to be raised up, in fact. So if you've got a low spot that you end up creating that's the pathway, that can become rather challenging, especially in the winter. But I would think you'd want some type of substrate there that's not just dirt, even if it's modest. Couldn't we just add stone intermittently to a path there as it became compacted down?
like a gravel path.
Yeah, but crushed stone, so jagged, so it fits together tightly and not like your feet sink in it type of gravel, not pea gravel.
Sure, but again, my question is, what do you do? How do you maintain that? If they go through with those brushes to blow the snow off of that, we're gonna have gravel all over the place.
Well, no, it wouldn't fly if it wasn't pea gravel. It would be well set when you use that type of item 4, if that's the right term.
Yeah.
But it packs like concrete itself. It's a tight fit. It's not the pea stone gravel, which is all rounded edged, but it's you come through, you tamp it in, or you can drive things over it to get it to really lock in together. But you can, like, I use it on the farm here, and I'll use my plow truck on top of it, and doesn't seem to really be pushing it around. But at the worst, you would have maybe a little raking to do in the spring. But at the absence of that, I think you would have ice and mud at times a year that would be discouraging in there, I would think.
Well, if they're natural paths, like you were saying before, just grass, or you're asking, they wouldn't be shoveled. Isn't that
Right.
what you were saying?
You don't
Exactly.
go through the park in the
So-
winter, you go around it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you look at it in the wintertime and it is a crushed item for stone dust that is packed down, and if it doesn't get shoveled or plowed, then what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? But at least you have a defined walkway.
That's perfectly fine. I think that makes sense. As long
Because
as.
if you keep the existing path where you're taking out the sidewalk, you already have a place to make it, and you just have to tamp it down.
Yeah.
Which is a little tamper.
Right. Except, let me just, in terms of the paths, there won't be the diagonal that there is now, because we're putting a cherry tree in that corner, which will keep people from doing what they do now, just walk diagonally across. They can walk between those two trees, the existing tree and the new tree.
Well, you got to look to frame those two entrances to the park such that people have to enter in a narrower space, which I think is useful. No?
Yeah, I think, I don't want to get in the way of people's desires, but yes, we are shaping their behavior by where we put the perennial beds, where we put the benches, where the fountain is. So,
Right.
I think we can construct those other elements in such a way that, yeah, people will want to come in. off of 199 between the new tree and the old tree. And they'll still want to go out where they now go out, given the placement of the town bulletin board there and the shrub beds.
Yep. And it is going to be sod everywhere, maybe even on the pathway. And that would be sod that is mowed to a certain height, I presume, throughout the grass season.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's, we've got to remember too, this is a small space, you know, and
Yeah.
there is a sidewalk that goes all the way around it. So it will still feel available to people.
I think you just have, people learn to have no expectation for any plowing in the winter. They just use the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
'cause yeah,
I also, for our paddocks with horses, we put down that material and it is like concrete. It's going nowhere. And I do think you need some of that, just a narrow pathway.
The item 4. Sarah?
Whatever it is that Rory was speaking of, I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah,
And-
me too. We used to, I mean, our whole road was item 4 and we plowed right over it, you know.
Exactly. So I think that's the way to go myself.
okay. So Sarah, you're saying item 4, that kind of material and in a narrow path, not the 5-foot wide thing. Okay.
No, narrow.
Yeah.
Just to make so it's a path. I love the idea of a path.
Yeah.
3 feet might be the right.
I
Okay.
didn't hear that.
3 feet might be the right width. You had to say, what is the width?
Yeah.
If you have, an adult and a child.
Yeah, that would fit. And a baby carriage can walk,
Yeah.
can go through there.
Yep.
Stroller, right.
There, does that sound right to you, the 3
That
feet?
sounds perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
and that's it. We also sent you the budget as such as it is now. Do you want to take a look at that? So the items we now have listed are the removal of the rebar, Mike George. He's given us what he called high bids rather than low bids. So he's estimating a high of 600 for the rebar remove, 300. Mike George will also do that. That's the installation of the spigot that Jack Banning has told us could go onto his building. The leveling will be done by David Hodling, and he gave us a price of 500. People are being very, very nice, by the way. I mean, people in Pine, they're jumping in here and saying we can do this. The landscaper, if you go along with our recommendation of Susan Robertson, her fee is $12,731. The fountain, Tim Jones is donating his time for creating it and building it. But we will need to purchase the Corten steel that he's going to use. That plus the pump and maybe a couple of other accessories come to $2,100. And we think an irrigation system is really important, and that's very relevant to this maintenance. That we can't expect people are going to go out there and water this thing. That we have to have some automatic system, and we can get something for $2,000. So, are there questions about that?
That all makes sense. Don, I might be interrupting Don by saying this, but I'd be curious to know what you guys thought the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of that type of stuff would be. And that's probably useful for us to talk about too, if we were to be increasing our building and ground budget by a small amount.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the activities that would require maintenance and upkeep in addition to the mowing of the lawns, I guess, and the emptying of garbage cans?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's very attractive about Susan Robertson's proposals, and also the Grow Green, was kind of provision of a very thick layer of mulch, that'll help us out. That'll, I suppose, will need to be renewed at some point, but at least, for a couple of years, it'll keep down a lot of weeds. And I think we're going with, drought tolerant things and not fancy plants that would require a lot of maintenance. I'm hoping it's going to be so beautiful, Rory, that people are going to be dying to work in there. That's what I'm hoping for. But, if you want our committee to think about that issue of maintenance more, I think, Vicky, are we okay on doing that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that you definitely have to think about the mulch is going to be an annual thing. Just with the small space that you're mowing there, the grass clippings are going to get into the mulch. You're going to have grass that you guys are weeding all the time. So that would be an annual expense, not a few years.
Okay.
Well, I can only speak like for the garden club when we do the garden in front of the Seymour Smith and down at the beach. We usually mulch it maybe every other year. I forget where, actually, I'm sure Kathy knows where we get the mulch from. They come, they deliver it, we spread it, but we do it every couple of years. And yes, we do go and weed these gardens, but I guess we're at the point where the town should probably think about a town beautification committee. Only because of this, different things at the town beach that I don't know, and also if the town park needs some work. There's different other areas, the signs. So maybe it is time for a town beautification. The barrels that are done. So maybe that should be thought of also. There's a bunch of us that will, as long as we can, will do the town park, but I think probably a town committee would be like most towns. Millerton has one, Rhinebeck, Red Hook, they all have town beautification committees. So maybe it's time for us to get on and get one too.
They're really a good idea because it gives people a stake in the community and a way to meet other people. And it's a positive thing when you engage people in something useful that they can give of themselves to the town. It's good.
Yeah. And there's certainly good experience from community gardens, all over the country. Those things work, and people get invested, and whether they're growing flowers or vegetables, they're good things.
Yeah.
And it goes, back to Dara's introduction around public places. People do like them. So.
Well, I mean, not to be a naysayer on them, but we do have a community vegetable garden now at the town hall, and Willow Roots is really people who use it. Not too many people do get engaged with that actual project.
Actually, it was started by Sandy Towers. And Willow Roots came in, last year for the first time, but it's been going for a few years, Pat.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a fair amount of people out there now working on it. So, it's great that we have some place for the extra food because it's a terrific resource.
Yeah.
But she's out there working really hard all the time. Elizabeth White's out there. Nelson comes by. Dave Humiston works on it. Suzanne works on it. Lenora Champagne works on it.
Right. Elizabeth White now is also part of it. So yeah, it's it's growing.
Yeah. And more are welcome. I think David Bisson was going to take a plot. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how we should vote on all this stuff. we have, Suzanne divided it into 4 parts. And, you know, and the key part of this, really, the first part is overall park design, it seems to me. And then everything else comes after that. In terms of these 4 important things that we need to vote on so we can get this going and take advantage of, you know, the fact that it's early spring and people need to get going. Do you have, what do you guys want to do?
I'm ready to vote on it.
All right, well, why don't I'll call the first vote on the overall park design. And then we'll just go through the items. Is that all right?
Well, I mean, the overall park design, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe if Tim Jones might be interested in making a sculpture instead of a fountain, because I feel the fountain is going to be a huge maintenance issue.
Well, can't we wait till that 3rd part where we vote on the fountain?
Well, the fountain's part of the overall design.
Well, okay, that's why I asked, like, how are we going to vote on this? Because so is the landscaper bids and so is the sidewalk removal. I like the fountain myself. So if we don't break it all down, then the vote is sort of a general vote on the whole design as it is.
What if we had a plan, Matt, and we maybe altered our budget for operating years in which there was a park that just accounted for a little bit of funds to make sure there was someone to do some of those maintenance issues or help whatever committee out with that stuff?
I actually think that we have money in our buildings and grounds. Generally speaking, at the end of the year, we have a little extra. Now that's just because we haven't had any crises. And we actually bought a lot of equipment the first 2 years I was in office. The last 2 years, we've had a little extra at the end.
I mean, how do you drain the fountain?
Yeah, I could see like us wanting like what is the actual protocols for doing it so that we could know how to share that. That does seem important.
I mean, when it comes time to drain in the fountain and winterizing it, where do you drain it to?
It's not, I think you're thinking that this fountain is gonna have a ton of water in it. It's
No.
not. It's
but even
very shallow.
Okay, but even shallow water, when you deal with other stone and it expands and it contracts, that's how it like fountains like you need to winterize it. You need to take care.
This has a drain down at the bottom. There's a connection that we attach a hose to and we drain it down into the gutter. So it runs into the street and down into the septic, the sewer.
What's the total volume of water it holds, you think?
How much?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, but I can find that out from Tim.
Yeah. How about, would it be possible to do the following?
Bathtub. No,
Pardon?
more than maximum.
Right.
bath-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be.
You can water the grass with it.
Yeah.
I mean, but with the fountain design, does it have an automatic feeder to it? Because on a hot day with the water, even if it's a fountain, there's going to be evaporation. And if you don't have enough water to feed that pump's dry, you run a pump dry, that pump goes bad.
Could we do something like the following? Could we kind of think about the overall garden plan without the fountain now and before Thursday's meeting? If folks give us the questions, we can bring them to Tim and I'm sure he can answer these things. But does that make sense?
Or we could wait until Thursday and vote Thursday. But I think Thursday is going to be a long meeting.
Yeah, it is.
We need to get the landscaper on board as soon as possible before she's completely booked. let's exclude the fountain for the moment, if that's going to be the only bone of contention.
That's fine with me.
Well, then the resolution would be to approve the overall park design sans fountain for now, which includes sidewalk removal by volunteers. The landscaper bid being Susan Robinson's. And that's it.
I move that we vote on that.
Second,
Second, Rory, thank you. All in favor?
Do we have a little discussion?
Sure.
Yes?
I think it's too complicated a plan. I don't think we're thinking far enough ahead on it. My problems are with the fountain and also the naturally made paths to the fountain. I will vote for, the initial work, and will vote for, the landscaper and what have you, but the paths and the fountain need a lot more thought.
I agree with Don.
All right. So we'll limit the motion. We'll vote on the landscaping and the
The design,
general.
the landscaping and reserve rethinking the paths and the fountain.
Are you
We're
gonna vote on
voting on the landscaping, and we're voting on the removal of the sidewalks.
Correct.
Sidewalk and the
Right.
gazebo, yeah.
And the gazebo.
And
Yeah, we already
haven't come
voted
up
on the
with a-
gazebo.
Okay, okay.
You are
Right.
the gazebo too?
Yeah.
No, we already voted on
did.
that in October.
Oh, okay.
Well, we didn't vote on tearing it down and throwing it in back of the 8 North Main there.
Well, we voted to remove it is what we
We
did.
voted to look into moving it to the beach is my recollection.
Mine too.
So, but anyhow, I'm not gonna hang that up on that.
Okay,
I mean, it's like the tree
Well-
that was so dangerous.
If you'd still like to move it to the beach, then go ahead, move it.
No, I think we're
Why
clear
did
that
that
I mean,
something-
what? I mean,
some kind
there's so
issue.
much I can do. I mean, I asked, that I didn't get a spot. I tried to
I
get the
understand,
item
Vicky.
4.
But you
Um,
cannot possibly
yeah.
understand with my frustrations with this whole thing. So,
All right, my understanding is we're going to send a statement to Carl telling him he can remove it and bring it to the North Main location.
yes,
I think that's where we were. Okay.
yes. All right,
So you are voting then on the gazebo tonight too?
yes, we will. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I need a motion on that.
we need to do a remove.
Carol,
are you,
Yeah.
no, well, mine
So
was
So I would-
discussion. I think you have a motion and a second on the floor.
we do.
Okay,
Okay,
All in
So we're-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then shall we then also vote to remove the gazebo and take it to North Main?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
was that a 5-0?
Were there any
Aye.
nays?
Vote.
It was 5, yeah.
What would you think for the path, Don, just as if we keep chatting about it? You'd like to see it maintained in the winter?
No, I don't care if it's maintained in the winter. No matter what, it's going to be used.
Yeah.
But I just think you desperately need some kind of reinforcement there. Because it is you're going to, some definition, some reinforcement.
I thought
Remember John Clark, when he did his downtown plan, he really advocated against having a park in that location. I disagreed with him because I like the simplicity of the park that we had. And, it took into account, number 1, being simple, number 2, having our Christmas tree, and number 3, having that path placed in anticipation of that's where the traffic was. Having lived on the corner lot just down the street from there, you find out that your front lawn rapidly becomes a path, because people will not take the long way around if they can avoid it.
Well, I can tell you, living in the center of town, people don't use the sidewalks, rather walk on the grass.
And
So-
and what happens to the grass?
Right.
I
Right?
think we
They
can
don't use the
quickly,
sidewalk. They use grass instead.
Mhm.
Until it
Front
becomes
lawns.
I think we can quickly come up with an idea for the paths if it's item 4 or some of the things we suggested tonight. And
Yeah.
then we'll figure out what more detail on the fountain.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
I just really want to thank everyone on this committee. I know it has been a long haul and it's been a lot of work, and I really thank you so much for your involvement.
I think it's going to be
Thank you.
gorgeous.
I do too.
Yeah. We'll celebrate.
And people will be able to get together without masks, maybe.
I know. Well, if people could get us any more specific questions about the fountain, so we can take them to Tim. You know,
I guess,
Maintenance is a big issue, maintenance.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it ends up being like, oh gosh, maybe we didn't think it through and if we had to remove it, God forbid, would that be something we could do easily, or would it be a big?
No, it could be removed easily, Rory.
Well, that's the question. That's we need to hear a little more about it.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Sleep
Bye-bye.
well.
Bye.
But
Okay.
I'm going to move right on to the roof. Okay, so Bobby Lee was out in the parking lot 2 weeks ago and brought in some pieces of roofing that had been blown off our roof. So he got out a ladder and went to look at it. And he said, it looks like it's crumbling up there. I asked Drew about it, and Drew basically said that he sort of remembered that it was rolled roofing and that he remembered being here when it was first put on, or the last time it was put on. I don't know how old it is. Indeed, I have now found pieces of tar, kind of these slabs of tar kind of sitting in the parking lot where the wind has blown them off the roof. So we've been looking for a roofer who does rolled roofing. And so far we have just one bid. Numerous people did not want to do anything for the town because it requires prevailing wage. That depends on how much they're going to charge, actually. It's an over 20,000, I think, that prevailing wage comes into play. So at this point, we only have one bid. I'm still trying to get people out to look at it.
I have a person coming to look at it also.
Okay, and we got a call from, is that the guy we got a call from, Don?
I don't know who.
Alice, do you remember the name of the company?
I do. Mr. Pottenberg's coming sometime this week to look at it.
No, that wasn't the name.
Okay. So they're coming and then your friend is coming, Don, and so we'll have 3 bids.
Okay, I'll talk to him again soon.
Okay, that's great. I just wanted to say to you that there's one of the bids, the one bid we got in, divided the project into the rolled roofing, which is an existing rubber roof. He took pictures of it cooling, and I don't know if you can see this.
Well, that means it doesn't leak.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
It just might mean that the what do you call it? The drains are clogged. We're not sure really what's going on, but,
Not if the roof is flying off into the parking lot.
well, that was the worry. That's why Bobby Lee, I think, was like
But
flipping out.
Are you sure that roofing isn't from, that's not classic, a hot roof material that you had in my mailbox? I mean, that's more like the stuff I would have expected on Drew's office roof.
Mhm.
I don't know what was there.
Now, I don't know what's on Drew's office roof either.
Neither do I, but I wouldn't have expected the piece that you showed me to have come from a built, well, it could, there is a style of roof that's a series of layers of tar paper and tar, but
Okay.
I don't know what's up there. But anyhow, we need,
Yeah. So the other thing, the other issue is it's a mansard roof and it's got, these shingles are falling apart. I am loath to put any money into this building.
I agree, and I didn't think those shingles were that bad.
I did,
And they really are decorative.
if they're decorative, then I don't think we need to pay attention to that.
Sure.
Unless it makes a leak.
It should definitely be a separate bid from doing the main part of the roof.
Great.
I'm just afraid that if it is ponding like it is, that the substructure is sagging from whatever, and
Yeah.
got low spots. And I'd like to know what those low spots are from.
Isn't it supposed to have a low spot to that drain there? It's probably just debris covering the slats on that drain down there.
So
Maybe
that's what I'm hoping the problem is, because usually you can hear that running through the wall.
Yeah.
But
I
I haven't
haven't
been
heard
out
that.
there. What's that?
Yeah, I have not heard that in a long time, that
Well,
running.
that's what I'm wondering. It may just be something that simple. And with the rain that we're having today, we should be able to see what's coming out of the scuppers where it comes out down below.
could we have someone look at this other than Bobby Lee to get a second opinion on what to define the problem?
Mhm.
When there's chunks in the parking lot, how do you know those aren't the asphalt shingles from beneath the cedar shingles on the Mansard component?
We don't.
Did it look like shingle or did it look like the other material?
They weren't shingles as such. It was just like describe it as a very stiff piece of tar paper.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the roof looks intact in the photos there. Just I see the water pooling obviously, but it doesn't look in terrible shape just from these photos anyway.
Well, I think we need a professional investigation to know what's what.
Right.
So, okay, so the fact that we got one of these bids might mean that he didn't clearly see what was really going on.
Well, he just might say he was led to believe that we were wanting it replaced, and so he
Okay.
gave us a place
Yeah,
of when
for a new roof, whether you
we
need it or not.
Okay,
yeah, inspector to come and look at it who doesn't have skin in the game. Like we're not going to hire
okay.
him.
We don't want to do a new roof if we don't have to.
I know. I don't want
Definitely.
to, I hate
Yeah.
putting money into this. Okay, so I'm not sure who this person is who's gonna look at the roof, but I suspect that we needed to let it dry out before we have anybody look at it, especially if indeed the drains are just clogged.
Well, could we not go up there and investigate the grills on those little drain inlets and perhaps see if that might cause it to no longer pool?
Yeah, it's supposed to rain all week is all I'm saying is, like,
Okay.
but yeah, we can ask, figure somebody out to do that. I think if I got, maybe Drew would do it if I found him a ladder.
We could send Matt Zick up there.
Matt Dick.
Got a ladder.
I don't know about you, but it's been a long day and I was just thinking of skipping the executive session. It's not an emergency. And we could tag it on to Thursday if we need to. None of it's an emergency.
Okay. And move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who
Thank
gave me the second?
Sarah did.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Till the next meeting.
Yeah, see you Thursday. If not,
I'll see some of you tomorrow.
right.
Yes, see you
Okay.
guys.